Hey, nerds! Welcome to episode 13 of One Podcast for Nerds, your weekly video game podcast.
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. Each week, the guys and I discuss the hard-hitting news that happens within the last 7 days, as well as we deep dive into a topic and discuss the effect it has on the video game industry or us as gamers. If you are a first-time listener, thanks for joining us on this wonderful Tuesday evening and giving us a try. If you want to go back in episode 11, we discussed the Game Boy Advance's 20th anniversary. And in episode 12, we discussed Battle Royales and their place in the video game world. Before we continue, let me tell you where you can find us and also reach us with questions or suggestions. You can always email us at onepodcastfornerds@gmail.com. That's the number 1 and the number 4. By doing so, you can say hi, ask us a question, or give us a suggestion on a topic you'd like to hear on a future show. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube by searching the handle One Podcast for Nerds. Again, number 1, number 4. Also, you can find us on Patreon, where you can join our community and discuss video games. You get access to our show, Music Behind the Games, and soon to be A Nerd to the Past, our retro video game podcast. You'll get a shout out as a producer and take part in our Patreon polls for all our shows. You also get the unedited video version of this show as well. So with all that, let's introduce the panel today. And today I have Austin.
Hello.
Nolan.
What's up, everybody?
And Bones.
Bones.
Our
I made it
That was
back.
beautiful.
I'm
You're
here.
so great.
Welcome, greetings, salutations. A warm welcome. Well,
That
let's
sounds like a
get it
menacing
on. Let's
Batman
talk
villain.
about the
Welcome.
subjects we all came here to talk about.
Yeah, so the subject we're going to talk about is the God of War delay, and obviously other things that are huge that happened this week. But as I alluded to now, let's talk about the news and starting with the God of War delay. So I don't know, did you guys hear about the God of War being delayed to 2022?
I did actually.
So how do you feel about it?
Well, I'd rather it be delayed and then have like a Cyberpunk or like any game that gets released too early and have everybody complain about it till like the devs inevitably apologize.
And stay tuned for the Cyberpunk 2077 Fight Club between me and Austin later. Just kidding.
You missed
No, it's just
part of
go
that
ahead, Bo,
headline.
sorry.
You missed part of that headline. And Sony isn't certain that Horizon Forbidden West will make a all-in-one launch.
Well, so yeah, the story behind that though is more that they never really announced the date that game was going to come out. I think they did that. Yeah, it could possibly get delayed, but until it's announced getting delayed, I think it's safe to say it might come out in 2021. I mean, that game's been in development
And
since the last one, which came.
Horizon Zero Dawn would have been
Well,
like a
2014.
27.
No,
right?
no.
Okay, so
I'm
those
sorry. I
Reddit
started it. I'm sorry.
Oh, it makes me so mad.
Sorry. Anyways, I alluded to the whole Horizon Zero Dawn trailer, so I'm super sorry, everybody. I got him down. He's drinking beer. That's how angry he is.
Actually, no, this is soda. It's just in a Pabst Blue Ribbon cup. It's Coke.
Sure. I mean, it's not rated E here, so that's fine. If you want to lie, that's all right with me. Nolan, how do you he's showing me the Coke bottle, and it's not a liquid Coke either. But Nolan, how you feel like? Do you want to play the first God of War?
I do. I'll come over yours tomorrow and we'll play it.
We can, yeah, actually, yeah. If you want to come over and play God of War, I've been itching to replay that game, and if you haven't played it before, I'd be down. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
No, we'll do it tomorrow night. We'll
It's gonna be a learning curve, Nolan.
Yeah, it is a learning curve. Also, I don't know if we can play that all tomorrow night because I have other people who are going to hang out with us, and we're probably going to play Mario Kart and other weird ass drinking games. Even though there's going to be a handful of us. But yeah, no, I definitely want to see you play God of War. I'm down. It's a really good game. I know, Bones, you gave God of War a try, but it didn't really stick with you.
No stickiness.
No
Didn't
stickiness.
cling, no clinginess either.
Mm.
There's no static attraction. What else? No, there's nothing. I didn't like.
Do you want to know why that is? Is because you're like Kratos. Buff, opposites attract, and if you're the same thing, there's just no connection whatsoever.
Yeah. So are you disappointed with this? Like, are you a big God of War fan?
I played the PS2 version for the puzzles, but I didn't. I think I played God of War 2, and that was with a buddy of mine. That was basically my introduction to the series. I didn't play God of War 3 or any of that. I think I tried one PS Now, but because PS Now is so garbage for that, it didn't work. But I thoroughly enjoyed like new in quotations God of War when they kind of went back and revisited the whole thing and really changed up the
redesign.
gameplay. Yeah, they changed the whole gameplay, the mechanics and everything like that. They changed all of that, and it was a really beautiful game. Like even like my partner, she's not a huge gamer, but she like watched me play because she thought like the cinematic scenes and just the way that the art
Story.
was, yeah, the story was just so good that she just stuck around and just watched me play. And
Hey, this
also
new God of War will be multi-console in the way of PlayStation.
PS4.
Oh,
Yeah,
It'll be
PlayStation 4
first
PS4
and
too.
time.
PS5.
Oh, multi-console. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I
No,
thought
yeah,
when you said
not
multi-console, I thought I
multi-platform.
was going to Xbox. I was
No,
like,
no, no,
wow,
no, no.
hey, that's really cool.
No,
Heard it
I
here first,
clarified.
folks.
I
Um,
clarified right after.
And you know what's funny though is with that, some people are actually kind of disappointed for it being PS4 or PS5 because for the few of us that own a PS5, they're worried that the game will not be as beautiful or at the full extent that it could be for PS5. And I actually disagree with that. And I know Austin's like getting all riled up about it. But I disagree with that because honestly, the PS4 God of War, that was a beautiful game. Like I don't think there's much more you could really do. I mean, it might look nicer on a 4K TV, but it's like the Final Fantasy remake integration DLC with all like the high res. It's just like there's not much more you can do to that game. Like that game is already beautiful. So what? Like the lighting's like a little different and like the pixels are a little smoothed out. It's not completely that noticeable. And I'm not like dissing it. I'm just saying that I don't think it's really anything to worry about.
Well, at least for me, that I've found from like PlayStation 5 gameplay from PlayStation 4, you're right. It is like a little bit prettier, right? But I find it wasn't like a jump in like super high quality graphics from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. It was more like load times, right? Like you log into a game, you're like you go through a cutscene, you're in the gameplay like right away. It's not like a waiting time, right?
And yeah,
So I don't see it being a big deal from God of War from play on multiple consoles then, because it's not like you're going from PC level graphics to PlayStation 4 graphics. You're going slightly better PlayStation 4 graphics down to PlayStation 4 graphics, or slightly worse graphics, and then you're going up to like what is keyed up to PlayStation 5.
and it's not even just that, but we're at the beginning of a generation. And let's be fair, the games that come out now look the way they do, but the games that are going to come out, you know, halfway through this generation are going to look so much different. Like think of the Unreal Engine 5 reveal that was shown on the
Oh,
PS5
that was really
demo,
cool.
right? Like how beautiful that game was, how smooth it was, how well it played out. But like that is what it should, that's what games are aspired to look like. That's not what they're going to look like right now. And like think back to the PS4, like think about how Destiny looked, you know, when it first came out to PS4, and then look where we went with God of War, Spider-Man, even Horizon Zero Dawn. Like think of like the drastic looks and art style, the graphical capabilities that console ended up being able to do in its latter half of life, right?
Yeah.
So things are going to change and only get better from here. And honestly, I don't expect anything to come out for the PS5 in the next 2 years to be that graphically
Amazing.
superior than
Yeah.
what the PS4 was. But yeah, so that's God of War and PS5. Also what we have is, because my Word document's not working properly. Okay, so E3 is next week, guys. E3 is next week, next Saturday, week from today's recording. What do you guys want to do? What do you guys? I mean, I think what we're gonna do is
I've already booked the days off.
yeah. I mean, I don't work those days. It doesn't even matter to me. And then Nolan's just no crapshoot over here. Like it's rolling dice and see what happens.
Deviled egg party. We'll all bring our best deviled eggs.
Yeah.
Do you make amazing deviled eggs? I'm sorry, it's a tangent now. I just want to know. Do you make great deviled eggs? I need to know. This is a serious question.
I does
Yeah.
need to know.
I
does
do.
need-
I add
yeah.
a little bit of barbecue sauce into my yolks.
There
Oh,
you
really?
go.
No,
That sounds
Give it a little
great.
bit of sweet, smoky flavor.
You never show your homework, Nolan. Come on.
Yeah, so I think we're planning to do basically somewhat of a live reaction. Haven't really hammered out the details, but what I have in my head is we'll probably do a live reaction on Twitch and YouTube, and then maybe a post show that we can put out
On
as
the
like
podcast.
extra episodes on a podcast where it's mostly just us talking about what we saw and how we felt, and the sooner we do that, I think the more fresh, the amazements, hopefully the amazement it will be fresh in our minds and more.
I scream a lot when I reacted.
Oh God, you're never on video. No one even knows what you look like. You're the elusive fourth.
That's true.
Yeah, you're like Daft Punk of our podcast video. You should just get
Except
a
we're all together.
robotic helmet and just put it on, and just no one will ever know.
Watch, he's actually
Okay.
gonna open it up. He'll have a Darth Vader helmet on or something like that.
Actually, Iron Man helmet. If he had an Iron Man helmet on, he'd be so into it.
Yeah.
He would do it. Yeah. I like the fact that he laughed. That was great. Anyways, okay, and then also we have there wasn't a lot of news because we have E3 next week, so not a lot of people are crapping out stuff. But so I guess I read on the internet, and I thought this was actually kind of funny. I read on the internet that everyone was so adamant we were going to get a Nintendo Switch Pro reveal either Thursday or Friday. Well, both those days have passed, and nothing has been told.
Well, I mean, Nintendo has its own show on the 15th, so why wouldn't they show it?
Well, because apparently what they said is that it's going to be exclusive software to Nintendo Switch for 2021. This is all business talk. They can say that. It doesn't mean it's true. I mean, like that's just how things work, right? Like you don't really want to play your best hand. I'm not saying it's going to happen, so please no one take me to that. I'm just saying that like just because they said it's software exclusive does not mean it will be truly software exclusive. There, but it is exclusive stuff to 2021, which means that we won't get anything about Pokemon. We won't get anything about Pokemon
Smash.
Arceus. We won't get anything about Splatoon
Smash.
3. Some people are thinking that the last two characters of the Smash Brothers pass will be revealed.
So,
and they're both gonna be sword characters.
Has anybody played? Has everybody here played Smash Brothers?
Been an advocate of Smash Brothers for
okay.
a long. Okay,
who do you think? I think this is a fun little thing. Who do you guys want to be the last two characters?
I want Master Chief to be one of them.
Okay, that's fair. But what do you guys want? Nolan, if you could have any character,
I want Master Chief.
Xbox.
I want Master Chief, and I want Waluigi.
Waluigi would be clever.
Those are the two I want.
Yeah. Bones, what do you think?
Doctor Strange.
Hey, you never know, man. They have fucking Minecraft Steve.
That's true.
Yeah. Like I said, they've added a lot of weird characters that no one were expecting. So, as soon as they added Minecraft, anything can happen now. So that's why I'm saying, even if you're not super intimate with the characters that are people or what people are theorizing, it's just a fun little game. Nolan, what are you thinking?
Throw an Optimus Prime with Peter Cullen.
Oh, that'd actually be dope. That'd actually be really cool.
I love how it's straight to Transformers so quick.
That or He-Man.
For me, for the last character, because this is Sakurai's last game, I was just talking to my assistant manager at the store. I thought it'd be so fucking funny. He's just like, last game, I made this series. I'm putting myself in there, bitch.
Yeah,
and he's gonna be the best character ever.
I figured. I knew as soon as you got so hyped for it, I knew where you were gonna go with this.
Tell the people what they want to hear, Andrew.
Yeah, so I actually kind of think this is an interesting discussion. So last
Zilla or Kong?
No, not that. Neither of those.
Whoa! Go ahead. Sorry.
Last week, Nintendo won a lawsuit of $2.1 million against ROMs Universal, which was a ROM downloading website. So so first off, I'm actually not completely against this, only because ROMs Universe was actually selling a subscription to use their website. So in essence, they were making money off the ROMs they were giving to people.
Yeah, that's wrong.
But secondly, is I'm kind of curious what everyone's opinions on ROMs are. How do you guys feel about ROMs?
I love ROMs because when I was a kid, I had a vast library of Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, and they're gone. I did own them. I didn't sell them off. I didn't give them to someone else. They just died and they broke. And ROMs were the only way that I could play those again on my laptop. I got no problem with that. And there were a lot of things that...
Did you know you're legally allowed to take your game and dump a cartridge of it, dump its information on an SD card and have a ROM of that game? Or even you're legally allowed to download the ROM of a game you already own.
Yes, but you have to physically still have the copy of it.
You have to physically still have a copy of it.
And that's what I didn't have.
Austin, how do you feel about ROMs?
I like them. Pretty much exclusively only downloaded Pokemon ones because when you've beaten every Pokemon game as much as I have, you kind of need ways to entertain yourself playing Pokemon. So I do like Wonder Locks and randomizers and shit like that, and that's what I use the ROMs for. But otherwise than that, like I could care less, right? Like I buy every Pokemon game. It doesn't matter. But the only problem is now, like all the Pokemon games now, like you can't put them on ROMs because the technology
Not
isn't
yet.
far enough.
Yeah,
Right,
not
so
yet.
it's just like, yeah, I've bought in every Pokemon game, but I don't have the physical copies of the old ones, and I still want to play them and I want to experience those games. But
So I had a-
Nintendo, I'm not paying $70 for Pokemon Platinum. Sorry.
I just had a weird thought that like Nintendo Switch cartridges are basically micro SD cards.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Yeah,
I guess
it's weird,
so.
right? Yeah, it's kind of a weird thought. Bones, did you ever dabble in the ROM community?
No, well, kind of a little
I-
bit. It's because my friends showed me.
Well, there's probably a lot of games you probably either owned or would like to replay that you owned as a child, right? That's kind of like the thing with
It's a
ROMs.
it's a great accessibility though to gameplay.
Yeah, well,
DS.
and
It
I
is,
don't know what
especially to the older games, the retro ones that you just can't get anymore.
or that they're too expensive to buy, right? Like, I mean, either you
Yeah.
can't find them or they're like have an absorbent amount of like pricing behind it, and let alone for just preservability.
Oh,
Keeping those
absolutely.
even those games around and alive is, I think, incredibly important. And yeah, like I dabble in ROMs too because like Nolan, there was tons of games I had as a child that I like can't get, and honestly, a lot of them are Nintendo games. But that's only because like Switch came out with Nintendo Online, but they have nothing compared to like what the Wii U Virtual Console had, which was amazing. Like the library on the Wii U Virtual Console is just mind-boggling. And having that access and then going to Switch Online where it does not compare.
You got like 20 Nintendo games, or maybe 30 at most.
They have
And
100.
Is that how many are on there?
They have 100 Nintendo games between the NES and the Super NES. They have over 100.
All right, but that's still a drop in the bucket, man.
Well, it's not even just that, but only like about maybe a quarter of those games are like high demand popular games. As for the other 3/4 are like games that either people are like, I didn't know this
It's
existed.
filler
I
at
don't really
best.
care about it. It's not even like they're not even least popular games that they have on there, right? Like it's just kind of games that are it's just shovelware almost, to be
Yeah, they
compared to
sold
that.
100 copies somewhere in back alley, basically.
Yeah, and so I do think ROMs have a huge future, and for having a subscription base like Nintendo being here in Canada, it's $20 a month for Nintendo Online. I would say that they're sitting on a huge library that they can just dump on there. Like, we haven't even gotten to Game Boy games, and then there's N64 games, which I think would be super hard to run on Nintendo Switch Online. But like even like to sell like a peripheral of the old N64 controller, like instead of making an N64 mini, which we all know probably isn't coming out ever, like that's been stated, but even to completely disregard that, I mean they've been releasing the old controllers. Like I have the NES controller, I have the Super NES controller for my Switch. So even to come out with the Game Boy, come out with N64 games and then release the N64 controller, that'd be sweet. Like I would be all over that. And then like even DS games, like how easy would it be to make a DS peripheral of a second screen that you just plug into your USB slot or your USB-C drive slot at the bottom of your Switch with a second screen attached to it that acts as a touch screen. So basically you're just attaching a touch screen to it where that's your bottom screen and then you have the Switch as your main screen. Because most games, I think other than Zelda, Phantom Hourglass that I can think of in my mind, most of them ran top screen. As for like the bottom screen was like your map or your inventory or whatever you have, right? Like whatever have you that's what it was. So I honestly think the Switch is a very multi-use console and has a lot of peripherals that can make that thing almost like a Nintendo in one Switch, like a Nintendo in one console. Like all your old games, everything that Nintendo's ever done could easily be put onto that console, I think.
I think you're right. It
Almost
has that
like
versatility
a
to
variable
it.
Switch.
Yeah, your variable Switch. So that might be what the new Switch is called. Your variable Switch. Who knows? Who fucking...
No, we've been through this. It's going to be the Super.
God, I wanted to be the Super Switch so bad. Super Nintendo Switch.
Super
What I want.
Switch. Ooh.
Okay, so let's get on to the main topic, which is
The
EA.
evil empire.
EA games. or EA Sports.
It's in the game.
Yeah, EA
Yeah.
Sports. It's in the
The
game.
big dirty
Yeah,
EA. Here it goes.
So
Oh man, I played so much of the Nintendo or the NHL series on
all right.
there.
Well, okay, so let's get into. Okay, so EA was founded in 1982,
Yep.
and they have a slew of some big hitters, right? But like even big franchises.
They were
Battlefield,
smart.
Dragon Age, Mass Effect.
Yeah, you also
Madden,
Hours.
you have
NHL.
Sims, NHL, FIFA. You even have like Burnout. Rock Band was an EA published game. So like there was just huge things. Sorry. So EA has like big sleuths. Yeah, like you have Mass Effect 2, you have Mass Effect and all that stuff. So I mean, out of those franchises, and like Nolan alluded to one, but like yeah. So Nolan, let's go with you. Like, what was your experience with EA?
I played NHL from '94 to I think '98 on the Super
Shit,
Nintendo.
I
I
have.
bought that every year, man.
What do I have? I think I have NHL. I think I have 98 on CD, like an original game
Wow.
in my storage locker for my PS1.
And then I got into the NFL series when I was living in England. I had to buy those
Really?
off. I had to buy those off Amazon. I was
You were
playing
just
American
like
football
you're
in
like
Europe.
fuck soccer.
Pretty
Yeah,
much, man.
FIFA's not a thing. Straight to football,
Like,
which
I don't
is
care what the
not that
Champions
football.
League, the Premier Cup, Euro. No, I'm playing NFL, whatever it was.
Here's another actor tangent, just because we're on this subject now. Rob McElhenney, who's the creator of Mythic Quest and Always Sunny, and Ryan Reynolds bought a football club in Wales.
I read that. Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was
What?
funny.
What did they watch Ted Lasso? And like, yeah, we could do that.
Actually, they're doing it. They're doing a documentary on the football club that they bought, and it's really funny because I watched an interview with Rob McElhenney, and he was just like, McCallahenney, sorry. Anyways, and he was just like, yeah, I'm calling it football because you'll get stabbed over there if you call it soccer. And I'm like, yeah, you would
Dude.
100% get stabbed if you call it soccer in Europe. Yeah, you're dead.
And the
But,
games for those teams, man, that's some serious hardcore shit, man.
Yeah,
I've
and they bought
and they-
they bought an old club too, like a well stapled club in Wales, which is even worse because it has
Oh.
history too, right? So, anyways,
just as long as they don't become the Glazers.
yeah, I don't know who they. I don't know the team. I don't know the team name that they bought. I don't think he
The
said it.
Glazers are the family that bought Manchester United. All kinds of serious shit going on with that now. As much as I hate soccer, I seem to follow it. I don't know.
I love soccer, but that's just because it's literally in my blood to love soccer. Both
You're
my
Italian.
background and Brazilian.
Portuguese, yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, it's in my blood to love soccer. Yeah, okay, go for it, Austin. What was your experience with EA? Before you start dissing it, what was your experience with EA?
Oh, I wasn't actually going to diss it. Most of the games I've relatively enjoyed. Do I enjoy them as a company? Not really. But
They
like
won
the
worst
games
company in America 2 years in a row. You know that?
Yeah, but that's a bit
Only
more of
company
I
to do
didn't know
that.
that, but that's a bit more of gamers being spiteful. And they're not wrong. Like I said, they their business practice is horrible, but like if as long as EA leaves like the companies alone, like BioWare will put out a relatively competent game. So most of the games I've rather quite enjoyed. I think the only Dragon Age I didn't really enjoy was 2. I've played the sports games like NHL up to like 2011, I want to say, the night before I stopped. Never played FIFA. Sorry to all of you Europeans. I just don't like it. Soccer
Never played a soccer
eludes
game.
me.
I could.
Yeah, it eludes me. Why kick a ball when I could pick it up?
Right.
So it's one of the situations for that. So like the game side of EA, I've never really minded too much. Like usually, as long as the game's competent, I have no reason to judge it. And then but as a company, yeah, I can understand they're evil, but there's other evil gaming companies out there. But EA, they go fly under the weather because EA is in the company's the people's eyes.
Nolan, what were you gonna?
Oh God, he's back! Thank Christ!
Oh God!
Oh, scary.
I disappeared.
Okay, so what were you gonna say, Nolan?
What I was going to say was their very first ever game is in my heart, one of the greatest games ever for the original Nintendo. Skate or Die. I love.
Oh,
I talked about this like several episodes ago.
I didn't know that was their first game, actually.
That was their very first in-house game. All their games that they published before that, they used external developers. Fear Die was their very first in-house game, and man, I loved that game.
Speaking of, did EA do all the Lego Star Wars games?
I don't know. I
No.
don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because
Because I don't
if they
think-
did, add that to the list because I love those games too.
But then they've had they've had all the rights to all Star Wars games for the last
It was
8
probably
years.
Lucasfilms.
It was
games.
Lucasfilm
Yeah.
games.
EA might have published them, but
What I would say is that I don't think I don't think they probably published all of them, but they probably took over publishing. So like, I mean, if
More
you were to
recent ones.
if you were to Google it, you literally have Walt Disney Company, LucasArts, and more is under publishers. So I feel like Star Wars, like the Lego Star Wars series, has probably been thrown around to different publishers.
Yeah, you're right. But so like as I said, the games, as long as the game's competent, I won't hate it just because it's an EA game. Do I appreciate their business practices of all their loot boxes? No, but
We'll
I
get all
tend
into
to I tend to leave my my judgment on the game side.
yeah, but
Bones.
they did.
No, okay, no, go for it. Talk it out.
But EA did purchase, and they're the second largest game studio company in the world right now.
Wait,
Yeah.
I thought they were the largest. Who's bigger? Sony?
No, Ubisoft, I think,
Ubisoft, really interesting.
Which they owned.
or is it
some-
Activision? I can't
No,
remember
because
which.
Activision's owned by EA.
EA.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's Ubisoft. In fact,
Which is
Ubisoft.
It's funny
Or-
because EA actually bought shares into Ubisoft,
Yeah, about 19% of
and then they sold it.
Ubisoft at one point.
Then they
Yeah,
sold
they
it.
sold
all.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ubisoft wasn't very happy about that.
I can
No.
understand.
That they bought
Um,
into. They called it a hostile act.
Yeah. Bones, what was some of your experience with EA? Because I know you're a big. You and I played NHL quite a lot, actually.
Hey guys,
Yeah,
play
actually-
Apex.
I
Oh,
played
and
NHL from 99 to, I don't know, 16, 17 or so.
I think you had 18.
Pretty much every year.
Yeah, because I remember you and I played it pretty heavily, like when we were living close to each other.
Especially in
I'd
high
come
school. That's when I
we'd
played it
come
the
over and we play. You kicked my ass on that one.
Yeah,
I could not win against
pretty
Bones.
decent on hockey.
Actually, I have a
what
friend.
else?
Oh, go on. Yeah,
Star
sorry. I
Wars.
got a story after this. Oh yeah, you played Star Wars
Star Wars.
Battlefront too.
Yeehaw!
Yeah, we played
Yeah,
that. pretty
that's a good one. That's another good game.
That's Starfighter version on that game.
Yeah.
Starfighter, I forget what it's called.
I think it's called
Um,
Starfighter.
Anyway,
Like the-
that on
yeah.
my projector, 130-inch projector screen.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That
Oh
would be-
god, so
And then
drunk on
Apex.
so many of those
I
occasions.
play Apex. I
Yeah,
was playing
Apex is.
Apex late last night. I
Did
didn't
you
know
play
that
last
was
night?
EA. I didn't know that was E EA.
Yeah, Respawn. Respawn's owned by EA, so by association, it's an EA published game, but Respawn developed. I had a funny tangent. Oh yeah, so real funny about NHL 21, and I'm actually gonna shout out. I'm not gonna shout him out because he'll be really mad at me. But a friend of mine who I'm not hanging out with tomorrow. That's not you, Nolan. But a friend of mine that I hung out with high school. We played NHL 18. And he was one of those kids that when you played a hockey game with him, if he was losing, he would lose his living shit. Like he was like supremely angry, and he's a huge Flames fan. And I was a Montreal Canadiens fan, so I'd play Montreal Canadiens against him, and he played Flames, and I kick his ass all the time. But he would also kick my ass sometimes too. So I shouldn't say it was like a one-way win. But anyways, one time we were super bored, and we decided to go World Cup or whatever. And so he was Team Canada, and I was like, nah, fuck it. I was Team Italy, to the point where like my players did not have photos at all. And I kicked his ass 3-1. And so I want to tell that story because he gets angry every time I tell anyone that story. And it's the best. And if you're listening right now, fuck you, I kicked your ass. Anyways, okay, so let's move on. Yeah, me myself, yeah, I play Apex. I haven't played it for the last couple of weeks, but Apex is a huge game that I love. And Jedi Fallen Order too, through Respawn. It's another great game. You know, like we play Call of Duty Warzone. That's an Activision Blizzard game, which is again EA.
Mass
Yeah,
Effect?
I really want to get Mass Effect, but I gotta wait because I already bought too many games in the last couple days because of the Epic Game sale. But Blizzard, I play a lot of Blizzard games. We have
Diablo, StarCraft.
Diablo, StarCraft, yeah, and I've been playing a little bit of WoW with my brothers. So yeah, there's a lot of EA games that are out there that I have to say I enjoy. I mean, it's a shitty company sometimes, but Battlefront 2 was a big one as well. Like I loved Battlefront 2. I even liked Battlefront 1.
Really?
Yeah, I
That,
actually
that's
I played that
interesting.
game. I played that game pretty religiously at the start, like and all the way till it basically died, and until 2 came out. Yeah, I played Battlefront 1. I even played Battlefront 1 after 2 came out, honestly, because
2 sucked
it was
immediately. They
yeah,
fixed it. Don't get me wrong; it's a really good game now, but it sucked at first.
Okay, so let's get into why EA is hated so much. So
Loot boxes.
that's not the only reason.
Well,
That's
before
definitely
that,
one.
they gobbled up all those little independent developers,
Yeah,
and
Well,
that's a good point, actually, Nolan.
well, here you go. Okay, so anyone who owns a PC and bought EA games before the EA Play launcher came out was Origins. Origins would be something you would download to download all your EA games. Well, that's, EA bought Origins back in like 90 what? I think it was like 92, 98, somewhere in
Yep.
that 6-year place. Anyways, they bought them. They were the creators of the Ultimate series, which ended up
the Ultimate Online.
yeah, and then ended up becoming an MMO. But then because the last two, when EA bought them, they were basically just wanting to push those the last, like, I think the last 3 of the series out. So they were just wanting them to push out the last 3 games of the series, the part where they were not well received, and then they came out with Ultima Online, and then they came out with Ultima Online 2, which was garbage. And then basically what ended up happening was EA took the rest of the developers of the Ultima franchise and Origins, threw them into EA, and basically were support systems for Ultima Online, the first one, not the second one, and
then they shuttered it.
Yeah,
Yep.
basically closed it down, and they've done that lots of times where they've bought a company for the
A lot of
IPs
studios.
and not the talent. That was
Buy them and get them. Buy them and get them.
And then
that
that came back to bite them, though, and they ended up losing a lot of revenue because they weren't putting out the really big blockbuster games there at one point, and they had to lay off nearly 2,500 staff over 2 years, I think it was.
Yeah, but not even just
that's
that.
not that much for them either.
The
Well,
thing
that was about 25% of their overall staff.
But think about the last
Back
5
then.
years, like when they bought Blizzard and Activision, and Activision Blizzard, whatever you want to call it, they ended up having to lay off people after that too. Even though, like, I think it was like a year before that they said no, like, we're fine, nothing's gonna happen, no one's gonna lose their jobs. And then the year after that, they ended up letting half the people go because Activision Blizzard wasn't making enough money.
Or we just talked about this last week with Blizzard and how they haven't had a big blockbuster release lately.
Because they're going to be coming next year with Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4.
Yeah, we have big hitters coming.
No,
down the pipe.
they have.
But they haven't released
anything.
anything. But they haven't released anything big since like 2016, 2017, I think it was.
Because
it's been a while
back
since
then,
they've had a big blockbuster release.
Well, they've
not
also
wrong.
been working on remakes.
They have been. But...
Okay, let's Austin talk because he's trying really hard.
Right.
You know what? No, fuck it. I'm done. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm mad.
Okay.
I'm just steaming now. I'll just go on a rant now. Just go ahead.
Okay, so what I was saying is that they worked on, so you had Warcraft 3, they remade. Now you have Diablo 2, they're remaking right now. They were working on Overwatch for quite a while with like DLCs and character releases and all that stuff as well, right? So that was a huge game for them to begin with. Like, that was a pretty big hitter for Blizzard. And then, so now you have, and then they had the stupid Diablo Immortal crap on mobile. They were probably working on that for who knows what a waste of fucking time that was. Sorry, but if you're a big fan of,
does anybody have any phones?
Yeah, fuck. If you're a big fan of that game, I'm not apologizing. and then yeah, so now we have Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2, which are high anticipated games from Blizzard that are coming out. And obviously
BBE?
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, yes and no. Shadowlands is really interesting so far, but I play it. I don't even play it. I listen to it for the
story.
lore perspective.
But it's
Yeah.
not even just that, but they're remaking the World of Warcraft Classic too. So you have people working on new World of Warcraft, and you have people working on Burning Crusades, which was the second expansion of
Very
Classic
first expansion.
of WoW. And WoW Classic's been out for 4 years, I think.
Has it been that long now?
Yeah, I think WoW Classic.
That long.
No, I think
I thought
because
it was like about a year or two ago.
I have to say it was probably since I started dating my partner. I'm more than positive it's been almost 4 years.
All right. Well, look it up because you also thought that fucking Horizon Zero Dawn came out in 2013.
Yeah, and you know what? Time is relative, so you have that coming for you.
I'm pretty much willing to guarantee this like 2019, 2018.
From your reaction, I'm pretty sure you're wrong, Andrew.
August 26th, 1995. No, it's 2019.
2019, yeah, that's what I thought. Keep going though.
Time is fucking relative. To me, we're still in 2020, or 2019 anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This game fucking came out this year.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, fuck. It's all the same. I don't really give a shit. I don't know what time is. Fucking 25. Who gives a shit?
You're supposed to be the news guy. You're supposed to have all this shit ready.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look up years. It's too much work. I feel like I can just ballpark it most of the time in my life.
What? No.
Research for pussy.
Hey, come on. I've got
You're
a few.
batting
there,
1,000 so far.
Hey. I said when EA came out was founded, so fuck all of you. It was fine.
All right. Well, 1 out of 4.
Okay, so we also have another reason why EA is kind of is viewed badly, obviously. So few reasons. Let's just go through them all and then we can talk about them each. So we talked about the acquisition of studios and closures. Poor treatment of employees, which isn't a huge
That's also
shocker.
true.
Poor game quality.
That's common across the industry, that one.
Poor game quality, so games are bad. And then, as Austin alluded earlier, loot boxes. So yeah, let's go with poor treatment of employees. So crunch, we all know, is pretty common amongst game developers.
A lot of game studios.
Yeah, they all kind of do it. But the reason why EA kind of got singled out, there's actually a couple of reasons why EA got singled out. One reason was because they were making their game developers work 100 hours per week.
And they were given Saturday evenings off with good behavior.
And second,
so they're prisoners.
Prison, yeah. Secondly, a spouse of an EA game developer actually wrote an anonymous blog that became so popular that it ended up blowing up and being a huge backlash to EA because basically what she was saying was I never get to see my husband because he's always working. And so that was another reason, like that got huge attraction. And EA now has taken steps supposedly to make work and life balance a little more appropriate.
But they also had to lose class action lawsuits brought to them by their employees.
Yeah,
for all that overtime.
Because so
I guess they must have been salaried or something like that, so they weren't paid overtime. Now they're given an hourly rate so that they get compensated for their overtime,
which isn't very common. It's
No.
not very common to happen at all. So the fact EA is doing that's actually probably in a way better than what other developers do now.
But
publishers,
was that forced on them when they lost the class action lawsuit?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised that that's the case. Why not more developers have gone against their publishers and been like, we're just going to sue you guys.
Why risk your job?
Why? I mean,
why risk your job if, especially if you're not in the same situation that those EA developers were in?
You actually know how many developers actually stick with a publisher for a game though?
Oh, not very many.
No, well, I mean, like they move around.
It's like
so
a revolving
much.
door. They move so many.
So,
like,
I
think
what job do you really have to lose? Like, it's a paying gig, but because you did it doesn't mean you can't get another one. I can't speak for that. I'm not a developer. I'm just if we're looking at it from that point of view, if you're going to end up losing this job anyways within the 4 years you're developing this game, I mean, Why not
Why
do
not
what you
get treated
can,
well?
and
Yeah,
then
no, you're right.
if it doesn't go your way, you move on. You're gonna end up moving on anyways.
Um, See, like for example, there's a guy who just left Capcom who was working on Village, and he went back to Destiny because he was working on Destiny before he went to Capcom, and now he's backing Destiny again. Like, so there's a good example of the revolving door. Developers come and go.
Yeah, because like whatever game you like let's talk Horizon for instance, or God of War. That game was great, but it does not mean the same people who made the last one are working on the current one anymore. And that happens a lot, and that's why games even sometimes change so drastically, is because that you love the first one and the sequel kind of sucks only because the people who made the first one aren't there to make the second one. And so it's harder to build on a legacy than build a legacy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was one thing. Yeah, poor quality games is another thing that, so EA has been voted the worst company in three times out of 5 years.
The
And
first company to ever get back to back.
yeah. And so anyways, and so one thing that they're negatively viewed for is bad game quality, which, is like mechanics, story, support is huge. And character development, right? Like those are kind of the things that make a video game, unless you're doing a first person shooter like Call of Duty, I guess. There's not really much you can do with any of those. But Anthem lost a lot of support. Well, I'm just saying Call of Duty because if you play a Call of Duty campaign, there's not really, like, you're not gonna love the guy you're playing. If he dies, you're like, okay, sure, move on, right?
Yeah,
You have
but
no
like for
attachment
like
to it.
you're not wrong, but like you got like there's like very famous characters from the series like Captain Price and Silk
Yeah, they're
McTavish and
famous,
stuff like
but
that.
like,
They
I
have
think
very
it's,
good character
I
development
think
too.
it's, I think it's more. Again, this is gonna be my view, but I think it's more the nostalgic of that character, or the history of that character, more than the character himself. Like a lot of, like, for me personally, I got into Call of Duty on Call of Duty 3 Modern Warfare. Like that was my first go with the game. So like I knew Captain Price and all that stuff, and it was cool that they brought him back and stuff. But that was really all I had with it. Like I didn't really care about
Oh,
his
see,
whole. I didn't really care about his
so
history or
essentially
whatever.
Captain Price has been in every other than like the futuristic ones.
Mhm.
Captain Price has been in every mainline Call of Duty game.
Yeah,
From one Call of Duty, the very first one, up until I want to say the to Modern Warfare 3. Then
and then they
after that, he stopped being in them for
well because
up until
they went into the past and then they went into the future, and then yeah, the recent one they're kind of
now,
back
and
into
now
that
they're back in
area.
Modern Warfare, and Captain
Yeah,
Price is back. But
yeah.
it's just like the name has been in a lot of the games, so
Mm.
that's just a fun little fact.
Um, yeah. So, but anyways, like Anthem again is another example for support, right? Like Anthem ended up not getting the support it needed to make that game work. Really, I mean, like I know
It
people
was
had good
actually a pretty
experience.
cool game too.
Yeah, it had a lot of experience, but there was just some tweaks that everyone was like, fix this, fix that, and then the community left, and the community never came back. They just couldn't
And they
support it
abandoned
anymore,
the game.
and then they
Yeah,
eventually abandoned the game.
first fail Bioware has ever done.
Yeah, just intense, to be honest.
Yeah, feels
But
bad,
yeah,
man.
I didn't play Anthem, and I
I did.
wasn't my game.
Like the flying mechanics were really good. The story was lacking, and I hated that blind bitch. I hated her so much. I hated him so much.
Wow,
But
wow, blind bitch, and
wow.
assume it's a chick.
Well, no, because he was a bitch. He's horrible. Um,
Her, and then afterwards you corrected yourself.
I know. But yeah, the story wasn't great, but there's a good foundation there. The mech suits were awesome. They were fine, but they have ran out of content. And with those live service games, you gotta keep content up. I don't even know how Destiny does it.
Well, I mean, what else is Bungie coming out with?
Actually, apparently, they have they're working on a new project right
But
now
since
as
then,
we're speaking.
Actually, speaking of
No, they
servers,
just started.
and why people hate EA, they have early server shutdown.
Oh, that's a good point.
You
I
guys
don't know
know
what that
about this?
is.
I was gonna say, what's early server shutdown?
No.
Okay, so they basically fought with Microsoft to take control of their own servers by bypassing Microsoft's own servers hosted through Xbox Live, only so that they could control the ebb and flow of multiplayer accessibility for their games. In other words, every 2 years, EA shuts down servers for their games, so you have to go out and buy newer games in order to play.
That's fucked.
Yeah.
That's really fucked up.
That's really fucked up.
And EA Sports MMA didn't even properly last 2 years. And then the company started with renting servers while hiding or removing their own, so that they were dumping the cost of Battlefield 3's multiplayer expenses onto the end user.
So is that what? So it's safe to say that's why Anthem ended up quitting after 2 years, right? Like that's how long it took, or was it 4 years?
It was. I think it was 2. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it was 2 as well.
Because they had a skeleton crew working on it to
Yeah.
try to like bring it back. I think it might. I think it might have been 3 years actually. Now I'm thinking about because it is a live service game, so they would have had to keep the services up.
Yeah. Well, because you can still play that game online, still, can't you?
No, I don't. I don't think so anymore because they just completely
Exactly. So they
dropped
shut
it.
it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. I didn't know that. That's super interesting.
So for Battlefield 3, you're paying $60 for the game, $10 to $20 for additional DLCs, and or $10 for an online pass if you got the game.
Well, I guess that kind of nicely works into to the last topic. Obviously, is loot boxes, which is, I mean, in essence, to me, paying $60 for a game and everything else, ideally, yeah, that's just a loot box, right? Like you're just spending extra money to play a game you paid full price for. Obviously, a good example for this, there's a lot of examples, but the most recent and highly controversial one that happened was Battlefront 2. When it first released,
Yep.
it was a 40-hour grind just to unlock your first character.
Wow.
So basically what you're doing is you're playing you're paying a $70 game at the time, Canadian. And then you got to work your ass off to just unlock, and there was no more, there was like 20, 30 characters. Like almost everyone from the universe was there. And you had to like play so many online games to unlock them. And the ships as well, and trying to unlock what do you call it? Like when you kill so many people with a gun, you get to unlock the next version of that gun, and so on and so forth, or the accessories of it. And that was hugely controversial. So I'm gonna let Austin talk about it because he had some bad experiences.
I think somebody did the math for it. I think it would have taken like somebody 10 years to get enough points to unlock Darth Vader.
Unless you
The
bought
quintes-
all the
Unless you bought
yeah, you microtransactioned it through.
unless you did the microtransactions. And so when you think about it, Darth Vader is the pillar stone of the Star Wars universe, more than Luke, because
Absolutely.
he's the main character of the prequel trilogy, and like the main antagonist for the first 2 movies, and then supporting antagonist for the second or for the third one until he becomes Anakin Skywalker again. So for one of the most important characters in the entire universe, it would take you 10 years of nonstop gameplay to unlock him. Like that's fucking horseshit. And
Absolutely.
then so most loot boxes are for cosmetics, right? As Andrew said in the last episode, like, hey, if you want your character to look like this, you want to have a goofy hat, you can have a goofy hat, but it doesn't affect gameplay. They're all one of the other big things for the loot boxes in Battlefront 2 on release, where you could actually get perks that increased your damage, that increased your reload time, and everything like that.
The
Through the
cards,
loot
right?
box system. Yeah, the cards.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really pissed people off more than the grinding, because it didn't matter because it was a pay to win at that point. It wasn't a pay to look pretty, it was a pay to win.
Yeah.
And EA defended it for a very long time before they finally reversed it. I bought the game again on my PlayStation 4 when they fixed everything, and I loved it. I hated it on release. Fuck Battlefront 2 on release.
I still have the release game. Day one release game, the whatever
fuck that.
edition that came out. But
they
Yeah,
fucked themselves by going so hard into loot boxes and defending it so hard because even the European Union even took them to court and
not just
they,
them. They took a lot
and
of
they
people to
lost
court.
there, and then it was all across the world, and then Apple, I believe it was Apple, they had some kind of policy that they implemented where if you had a loot box and you had a chance to win something, you had to publish the odds of getting that. So you have a 1% chance getting this, a 5% chance of this, just so people knew what it was. Because
Gambling.
because those ones people started to recognize that that's a form of gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Because people
No,
were
yeah.
becoming addicted to loot boxes.
Yep. That's
And
where the gotcha game came in.
yeah,
No, yeah. So yeah, I mean, my experience with this isn't incredibly strong, but it wasn't just Battlefront that they did this with. There was a handful of games that they ended up doing like loot boxes with, where
Another one they did because EA also did the Mordor games.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they
And
did. Yeah, I forgot about
so
those.
most of the time you play loot boxes for cosmetics, right? But the cosmetics for that game, you were playing for in-game orcs and stuff like that. So you would actually be able to buy orcs that you could send over to other people's worlds and win, right? So that was another big fucking thing for loot boxes for EA.
Yeah, so it was a few times where it wasn't really so much of a loot box as it was like, in my sense, loot boxes
Pay to
are
win.
cosmetic and pay to win. So I guess a question for everybody be like, what is something EA could do that would change your mind on them?
Grow in integrity, grow a conscience.
It's fair. It's fair. I'm not gonna deny that.
well,
Nolan?
it seems like they've consolidated a fair bit, and it looks like they're starting to put more effort into quality of games. But I don't know, they're just so big. They got so many studios as part of them,
Yeah.
and I mean
Yeah,
they
some
restructured so they could give each of their studios more creative license and
funding
just
as well.
give them more funding and also really dilute or slash
Expand.
the
Oh,
but like really
sorry.
like before, like they had so many chains of command that they had to get approval through. They've slashed a lot of that so the games can be a lot more creative and really speed up the creative process for a lot of those
So knock
studios.
down the tier of command, so to
Yeah,
speak. Yeah, I think
it's gonna
listening.
take time to see the fruits of that, though.
Well, I mean, a good example, like I think listening to your audience is huge for them, making sure that they, they're doing the right thing by their consumers. One good sign of that is, you know, on Instagram, anything posted on, if you ever want to look at it, anything posted prior to probably last year on EA's Instagram, people are commenting how they want Skate 4. I want Skate 4. I want Skate 4 and all that stuff because Skate 3 came out in 2010 was Skate 3. It was a very, like, the Skate series is super popular. And then what was it? It was like last year at IGN's Summer of Gaming, they announced Skate 4. So, it's a sign that EA is listening, and it's a good sign, and I'm being a little optimistic. I mean, they changed Battlefront 2 to make it better. Anthem
Can't wait to buy my my all different wheels
Yeah.
on
Fuck, we'll wait
loot
to see.
boxes.
Well, fucking yeah, it makes you go faster, makes you jump higher.
Makes you go faster. Right. I want EA, if you're listening to this, I want a skateboard that'll automatically make my combo better than Andrew's. Thank
Wow.
you.
Have you played Skate?
No.
No,
I've never played
No,
Skate.
not at all. Not at all.
If there's one franchise, tangent. If there's one franchise like sport franchise that isn't like hockey and all that crap to come back, because I really want Amped. I want Amped to come back.
Wasn't that the snowboarding one?
Yeah, Amp 3 was my favorite snowboarding game.
I did play Amped on the original Xbox.
Yeah,
But
or even 360 came out too.
yeah, I never played it on the 360. I only played
Oh
it on the
god,
Xbox.
I loved Amp.
But what was the one that just came out from Ubisoft, the snowboarding game?
Don't know.
I want to say it came out in like 2016. Can you look that up since I know you're on your computer?
I'm always on my computer. Got nothing better to do.
All right, race. Who's gonna get? All right, is it gonna get Nolan, Bones, or Andrew? There's 3 of them. Who's gonna win? I'm on my phone, so I'm not looking it up because I don't really want to, but they can, and they're typing away fast. When was Deep released? 2017. Was it right?
I don't think it's an open world action game. It was.
Yeah, it was awesome.
2016.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was.
1
I
year
don't think it
away.
was
Fuck.
just. Was it just man? I think it was snowboarding and skiing.
Yeah, snowboarding and skiing. The
Yep.
cool part was you can take off, like it's the first game you can actually take off like your snowboard or your skis and actually hike to like the highest points in the mountains and everything like that. Like the world was really, really big and it was really cool and I really enjoyed it. It was almost like, yeah, anybody ever played like the Feroza games?
No.
I played not Froza 4, but whatever the fuck was before
The
that. 3.
Horizon? It was like
Yeah.
Horizon, but instead of cars, it was on snowboards and skis. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
I kind of want to play Steep now. I love
Actually,
snowboarding games. I don't know why. They're a lot of fun.
the music in it was fantastic.
Always those kind of games. All those extreme
But they're
sports games,
licensed.
though. Yeah, are really good. Like I really want to get Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. I really do want to get that.
Didn't they just re-release them?
Yeah,
Or you're
yeah.
waiting for them to go on sale.
Yeah, I'm a cheap bastard.
Yeah.
Happy with all the games you buy.
Yeah, it's how I get my games. I just bought Cyberpunk for $45.
Paid 90.
Yeah, well,
That sucks.
yeah.
I paid 0 and still don't have it.
Yeah, well, $45 on Epic Games if you're interested. Yeah, I just think that as long as EA listens and tries to do better, I mean, it's a long shot. It's a business, and a business is a business. Obviously, it's their business model that's clearly an issue, in the sense that their main revenue isn't just video games, but they focus on a second revenue, which is loot boxes and cosmetics and play to win, which is really shitty, right? And I'm actually kind of surprised Respawn even is allowed to do what it does with Apex, for instance. Like it's just cosmetics is all you get, but it's a very popular game, and hopefully EA can recognize that. Jedi Fallen Order as well, like loot boxes were cosmetic, at least they didn't affect your game. That was kind of nice. But Squadrons is another one that they did. There was actually
Well, I just downloaded that for free. It's the free
I'm
game for PlayStation.
pissed, but we should play together. I would love to play
Okay.
online. I really do want to play that game online.
Actually, I want to try that VR game again.
I actually have that game in VR. Squadrons you can play fully in VR.
I want to try it because
I should just lend you my
absolutely
VR.
demolished. I was gonna say because I absolutely demolished that Star Wars one where you're in the X-wing.
Yeah. Well, this one, I find Squadrons, like the movement is a lot easier than in that one because you can twist and turn and stuff. As for like that one, you could just move up or down, right? You can't like swirl. Yeah, I can just lend you my VR if you want, my man. Like I because of my PS5 it works with it. I just haven't had time to actually like. It's just a pain in the ass to
Get
hook up
into
with
it
the
again.
PS5. Yeah, it's
All right,
just really hard.
let's move it along. Come on.
But
Move it along. Come
fucking
on.
Boomhauer over here.
The shepherd is talking right here.
Boomhauer over here is telling me to fucking move on.
Speaking of Boomhauer, you know what my brother wanted to name his dog?
Boomhauer?
Yeah, he wanted to name his dog Boomhauer, but his wife's like, no way in hell.
Where could that have gone that wasn't related to Boomhauer? Speaking of Boomhauer, you want to name your dog? Fucking not Boomhauer? Sorry. I'm sorry.
You're not wrong. It's just like whenever Boomhauer gets brought up, I tell the same story. I'm like, my brother wanted to name his dog Boomhauer. And I still think he should have because it was a chocolate lab. Would have been hilarious.
I'm gonna tackle Bones here on this one. What do you think EA could do to be better, Bones? If you have thoughts.
Well, they're such a big corporation now. Like they have like budgets and investors, and they gotta make like it's the investors. Like, how can we squeeze more money out of a single purchase video game? Well, let's make loot box purchase in the video game. What do they do?
I will just to tell you against that point.
Stop trying to eat all the companies. Stop buying companies, and maybe siphon off contracts to companies some kind of way without taking them over completely.
You mean like licensing out their IPs, right?
To kind of feed the industry without taking.
But they tried that at the beginning, and the reason they went after buying all the developers was because they had a lot of issues with a lot of third-party developers not meeting the deadlines and not producing the quality that they wanted, which is why the EA went after gobbling them up, so they
Yeah.
could have
So what?
control over that.
Their
Then it
quality
became more of just a library
after
build.
their
See, this is
quality
how
of
it feels.
shit.
Yes. They ended up forcing exactly what they were trying to, or exactly what they were complaining about.
I was just gonna make a comment on like, it's funny because people like I was just on Bones's saying that, well, they have investors. Well, investors are stakeholders, right? Like they have a stake in the company. But what's really funny is that as consumers, we're also stakeholders because we buy the product. So therefore we have money in the company as well, right? Like not that we make that back, but we matter because we are the ones that keep the company alive as much as the stakeholders do, because what they do is they invest money into a company that therefore they use that money to move on to product, R&D or game development or whatever. We do the same thing because when you buy a game from a company, the money goes into the company, goes to R&D, game development, or whatever. And we're also
Yes, but saying that, you could have, say, 10 million people buy one game. You'll make more money if you produce a shittier game. Only 5 million people buy it, but then they spend 3 times as much on loot boxes and all the other transactions in the game. So that's where they can drive so much more revenue from their loot boxes with a substandard game.
unless Star Wars Battlefront 2 happens,
Yeah,
where
but
they got so much backlash that they had to change it, which means they weren't making enough games to keep it going. And maybe it's to Austin's point, that's why they fought it back for a couple of years, because they were at some point making money, but then when game sales started to drop on a game that that game wasn't just a one-time buy. That game was supposed to keep that franchise alive for a few years. Like the idea of that game was to keep generating revenue. But when
Well,
the
and
game came up,
they don't want to put out substandard games. I'm just sure every game to them is a great masterpiece game, and they want to profit off it as possible because they have the big budget.
well, that would be Cyberpunk, where developers were not happy with their game. Management was really happy with their game, and they pushed it out. And then that whole fiasco happened where a ton of people worked really hard on that game. And it did not deserve the backlash it got because it wasn't the developers' faults for what people have experienced over time, right? Where there from time to time there's miscommunication where, or even a budget or time, what do you call it, on time and under budget, right? Like that game obviously was not released neither on time and probably was not under budget because management wanted that game to be amazing and huge and whatever. Everyone had these huge ideas for that game, and the developers did it probably as like the best they possibly could with the time that they had. But we ended up with what we ended up with for some people, right? Like Austin had a great experience with that game, loves that game, and other people were like, the game's not that bad, a little glitchy but playable. And other people were like, I can't play this game at all. So it was a crapshoot of everything going everywhere for that, and it really shouldn't have been because management.
Maybe they'll
shouldn't
do a
have
proper remake in 2077.
That'd be funny as hell, though. That's when Cyberpunk 2 is ready to be released.
I don't think they're ever going to make a Cyberpunk 2.
Sales have really crashed for that game this year. That's why it's actually on sale on a lot of platforms. But I do think they're going to do a Cyberpunk 2. I actually think they will, because I think they actually have a chance to revive that franchise. I just hope that they don't do what they did this time and just let the developers do what they need to do to make that game what they wanted to make and not rush it out. That's all I want.
hey, need that crunch time. Chain them to the desk for 100 hours a
crunched on that
week.
game. I crunched on that game for a long time because I had like 3 release dates, and it's more common than not to crunch before like a release date. So going from release date to release date to release date, I'm sure there was a lot of crunch, and that sucks for all those people. But some of those people were like, I'm sure were super passionate about the game and wanted to make it, make it what it could, right? Because that's a name for themselves as well. They're invested into it as much as management is. But so let's just go on with what everyone's been playing. Austin, what have you been doing lately, my man?
I've been playing a lot of Destiny as usual. The new season is absolutely fascinating. With one of the enemy types have moved into the city as well, and one of your NPCs is apparently super fucking racist, and like is trying to like alienate them and like extradite them out of the city. It's fascinating, very very interesting real life politics in the game. I find that absolutely fascinating. And then I am playing Final Fantasy 14. There's a EA game called Knockout City. Absolutely way more fun than it absolutely has anything to any right to be. It is so good. Try
I've heard
Knockout
really good
City.
things. I've heard really good
Yeah,
things. I do
it's
want to
my
say.
my one friend from the United States was like, "You should try it. You should really try it." I'm like, "It's an EA game. I don't want to do that. It's evil." Right? Uh, and I finally like buckled because it was free. I played 2 games, then immediately bought the $30 that it cost for it. That's how fun it is. I thought it was amazing.
Nolan?
Been playing a little bit of DQ11 on my Switch when I find time for that. Since I paid money for it when I could have had it for free.
Yeah.
I was pretty choked when you told me that, man.
Yeah.
At
sorry,
least it was
man.
on sale when I bought it, but still.
Well, it won't be. I don't think it'll be on Xbox Game Pass forever for PC. But if anyone wants to play DQ11, it's free on Xbox Game Pass now. Bones, what you been gaming? What you been doing? What you been watching?
Just Apex Legends, Andy.
Well, we
Apex
should
Legends.
play Apex tomorrow afternoon. Man, what have I been playing? I've been playing so much. Holy shit! Civilization 5 has been my big one actually the last couple days, which is a game you should not play when you have shit to do. And then I've been playing. I played Joe and Mac, like the original Joe and Mac on Super Nintendo. I'm got really into that for whatever reason. I really like Joe and Mac 2, and we played Nolan and I played Joe and Mac 2, and then they came out the first one, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, sure, I'll try it. And then I've had a strong urge to play Breath of Fire, even though I know that game is not great. It's mostly just like it's a straight RPG. There's nothing like the story is kind of weird and doesn't make sense but I don't know. I just had a weird urge to play like a weird RPG. So Breath of Fire 2 I've been kind of getting into as well. And yeah, I think Civilization and that kind of stuff is all I've been doing. I feel like there's so many shit, like so much games I'm playing. I don't even know anymore.
What about your Loop Hero?
Oh god, actually no, I have not played Loop Hero for like 2 weeks, which is good. I think a Civilization 5 took over that addiction. Just a game. I just need to play a game where I can just have it run in the background and I can just like come back to it every couple seconds or every couple minutes, right? Like it's just not a continuous thing. And both those games do a great job at that.
I'll introduce you to a bunch of Poke games that my kids play, like some merge racer thing, where it just goes round and round and round and round. Keep matching the cars together, and they level up and they make more money, and they play it. God, man, you can play that for hours.
I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links on my phone. That's a shameful, guilty pleasure I play. So, really.
I've been playing Transformers Earth Wars on my phone for the last 5 years.
Yeah, well, it's a game that like I shouldn't play, but I can't stop because I like to go online and just kick other people's asses all the time. And I got that stupid fucking Red Eyes Black Dragon deck that I've souped up with my own cards.
He sits there and does the black marker on his hands, the one that signals the friendship on the anime.
The half smile on my hand, yeah.
Yeah,
and every time I really need a card, I'm like, believe in the heart of the cards, and then swipe my phone.
Sitting there and go like, "You have all the money in the world, Seto Kaiba, but I have my faith in my deck."
Actually, I play a Seto Kaiba.
It's time to do.
That's my character. But
I'd play as Yog.
I play a Seto Kaiba with a Black Eyes Red Dragon, or Black Eyes, a Red Eyes deck, because there's not just dragons. I have like beasts and other shit that are Red Eyes. But I don't play with just that pure deck. I've modded it with my other cards that I have to make that deck a little better. And it's a stupidly fun to play online. But and I also like the fact that as like a loot game, like it's not so much a play to win game. You can just it's so easy to get the gems in that game to buy new decks or cards or whatever like that. It's relatively easy. So I don't ever feel like I'm at a disadvantage. I almost own all the decks just by playing the game like with gems already. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I talked way too much about Yu-Gi-Oh though compared to every other thing I've been playing. So let's say our goodbyes. And
right.
I'm gonna go watch Mythic Quest episode 5. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us the Tuesday evening. And hello to all the new listeners. And thanks for sticking around to all this garbage. We have fun doing it. And we hope you have fun listening to it. All right.
I'm
Bye-bye.
having more fun every week.
Bye.
Bye all.
And